Today's DDM focus workshop topic is searching. As you can see on my screen, this is my focus workshop, and I've created this as a project, and I've created the actions that we want to have a look through. So these are all of the topics that we're going to cover today. I'm hoping that we can do it well within an hour, so I will move relatively quickly. Again, we will be recording this and making it available to you. And don't forget to ask any questions to Sandra. So, with all searching, we have a query limit. And users can set their query limit under the Tools options. And there's a tab here for query limit. The default limit has been set to 12,000, but I've reduced my query limit down to 500. Of course, the benefit of that is if you've got particularly large databases, you don't really want it to be doing too big a query before it returns the results. And in reality, any more than 100 or 300 results in any query is probably too much to be sifting through anyway. So you need to obviously find your own sweet spot for your query limit, but it's under the Tools options, and there's a couple of other switches in here that you can look at in your leisure. Okay, so just to show you that as an example, if I search on all parts, we see here on the screen I've searched across all parts and assemblies as an open search, but it's limited it to 500 of 10,270 items. It also tells us how long the query took, which was 0.49 seconds. Okay, there is also an administration option for searching. So we've talked about the user settings for searching. Let me just say that we've completed that. There's an administration option as well. So I'm going to go to the administration tool, Tools Admin. I'm going to log in as the administrator. I don't have a password on my demonstration environment. Okay, and I'm just going to bring this over here. And under System, right, search results query limit. So this is a global limit. So even if a user wants to go above 12,000, it's been limited to 12,000. Again, some of the customers have particularly large databases and you don't really want to be running massive queries. Okay, so it's in the admin tool under settings, search, the default administration query limit. Okay. I'm just going to set that as complete. Now, we also have some free search options. So before I go into free searches, no, I will show you this first. So for free searching, I've set up some saved searches here. So under favorites, I've set up some saved searches, and my example of a free search is I've typed in part of the word shaft, part of the word released, PRT hyphen, mild, and EN8. So what I'm doing here is I'm querying across multiple attributes. Now, the attributes that will be included in this search, you'll also note that no wildcards are required for a free search. Okay, if I go to the admin tool, under System Free Search, it will jump us to the other administration tool, like so. And you can pick your object type. So if I, for example, say for parts, when I'm searching, do I want to be able to search on the status? If I didn't want to, you can remove that from the free search. And of course, the beauty of this is you are controlling the attributes that are included in the free search, and therefore optimizing the performance. There are a lot of attributes that would be pointless to run an open free search on. Okay, so free searching, you have the ability to define the attributes that are included in the free search across all item types and all folder types. Okay, so nice and simple, and I've saved my searches. You could also have a match any option, and you have the ability in the top right hand corner to say only show me latest issue of any item that we're seeing in the search results. A change that we've made in a relatively recent version is that if you switch this on and off now, it will stay on until you switch it off, and it will stay off until you switch it on. There is no longer an option in here for the searching latest issue. It's been removed. So now it's either on or it's off, and you are in control of that. It's a much quicker way of working. Okay, so that's free searching. Let us go back to our workshop topics. I'm going to just close that, go back to free searching. So free search complete, and I've given you an example of a free search as well. Okay, the next searching option is simple search. Up in the top right hand corner, you can choose between your search modes, either with the drop down, or if you just click on the button, it cycles through the various options. So we're going to look at simple search now, and as you can see on the screen, it's based on number, description and status only. And this means the query will be very fast. Again, if you've got a large database, it's much quicker to search across specific attributes. So my example of a simple search is I've literally just put the word housing. Now on a simple search, you have to use wildcards. So I've said anything before housing and anything after. So it will run this query across the entire database, and I've again got my limit on here, so I'm only seeing 500 items. So a simple example, but on this simple search you do need wildcards. I'm going to add to this by saying my other example is housings that are released. So I've just reduced my query now to include only items that are released items, so I can just toggle between the two different examples. Okay, I'm going to go back to my and say simple search. We've covered simple search. Okay, now form-based searching. Again, we can choose the search type that we're doing at the top of the screen. And by the way, I'm choosing what I'm searching across inside my search types here. So the database is made up out of lots of types of information. We've got items, parts, assemblies, drawings and documents. We've got folders for business processes, and we've got sub-actions that are basically actions within the business processes. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I could say, well, I'm searching all items and I want to go to a form-based search. Or I could be searching across change orders and I want to do a form-based search. So we get the form at the top of the screen here. My example for this is items. And all I've done here is, now we're not seeing anything in this form, but behind one of these tabs, we can see here that I'm searching for any file created on or after the 1st of January this year that was created by me. So I haven't been very busy, clearly. So I've created 41 new files this year. A simple example, you can also search across any of your custom attributes and any of the primary attributes, including the ability to filter by category, business unit, etc. So more advanced than the free search and the simple search. The other example I've got here is a form-based search across change orders. So what I've said here is I want to see anything where the change category was assembly issues. This is a custom attribute that I've added, by the way. It's not standard out of the box. It's easy to do. But what I've also done here is where you've got a date field, if you click in the date, you can choose the to and the from date. So anything after or anything before. Okay. So effectively what I'm looking at here is if I go and switch on the create date, created on, what we're seeing here is any change order that was created this year from last year from January through to December. Okay, and I've saved it as a saved search, and we'll look at that a little bit later. But basically, the ability to specify dates in here as a date after and a date before, very useful. It's one of those hidden things that lots of people aren't aware that that's there, so well worth having a play around with that and trying it out. Okay, let me clear my screen again, go back to my workshops, and let me just drag this up so we can see what we're looking at. So free search across, form search for items, form search for folders. We looked at change orders created this year. And form search folder contents. Okay, so this one, if I say, well, I want to look at change orders, if I go to all change orders, but a form-based search. In fact, no, this is not what I'm going about it in the wrong way. I want to search all items, possibly by a certain category, but I could say all items by a particular folder. So I could pick, let me just pick development projects. And I want to look in that project, search. So these are all of the files in that project folder. So instead of looking at a project folder and looking at all the files that are stored within dividers in that folder, this is a simple search to say, just show me all of the files in a single flat structure. You can also, if you want to, start to filter down by the divider or by category or business unit, etc. So if you're working on a project for any length of time and you want a quick way of just looking at all of the files within a folder, it's a good option to use. And again, it's one of these hidden things that not everybody is familiar, so it's worth going in and having a look at. The other thing in here is you could say, and anything that is not released. And again, you can filter down quite neatly in here. Okay, so form-based searching on the contents of a folder type and a specific folder. Okay. Let's go back to our list, like so. Form search folder contents. Now, advanced search. And we've renamed these, by the way, when we introduced the Boolean advanced search, the form search, I think, used to be called advanced. So we've changed them. Dependent on the version of DDM that you are on at the moment, the labels may be different, but when you upgrade, you will have them exactly the same as I'm showing them today. So an advanced search. I've added a few examples in here for advanced searching. And while I do that, I'm actually going to take my preview pane off. So this first option is I'm looking at all actions in the database that are open and owned by the group engineering. So I've built up a query here that says the owner group must be the engineering department, and I want a status of waiting or not started or in progress or defined. So a nice simple way, if you're looking across or if you're responsible for a particular area of the business or a department, I can now look at all of those actions that are effectively still open and being worked on. And I've got them all in a column. And of course, once I have my results, I can sort in a column order. I can sort them by due date and any of the other displayed columns. So the ability to build up these reports. What I should do is I'm going to clear the screen. And the way that you build this up is you say where the owner group is equal to department, let's say, marketing. If I run that query, it will give me everything. But as you can see, We've got things that are completed and archived that we're not really interested in. So I can add a new group and I can say, and where the status is equal to, or I could say is not equal to, can I do that? Is not equal to complete. Completed. I've got a different name for the state. So I've just removed that and narrowed it down. So I don't want or add row, the status. Have I done that the right way? Is it and or? No, not sure. No, that's not going to work. It'd have to be a... So clearly I'm not demonstrating this very well, but it's a Boolean based with these and or operators. So have a play around with it. It's quite powerful, but clearly I've failed miserably there. So this saved search that I've got is all open actions for engineering. I've saved exactly the same thing for sales, for stock control, etc. So they're just advanced Boolean-based searches that I've saved to my favorites so I can recall them very quickly, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. My other example is parts that are family tables or SolidWorks generics. So I've basically got a new status in my database. So I'm searching across parts and assemblies where the status is equal to generic default. So regardless of the category that these files are in, I can search across all of my family tables. You can see here that these are SolidWorks default configurations and these are Creo family table generics. So again, just an example of a search that I might want to recall on a regular basis. The next option is fixings that are preferred fixings. So again, just a simple example. What I've said is I'm looking for M8 nuts, washers and bolts where the preferred attribute is equal to yes. So these are basically my nuts, bolts and washers that are M8 in size. The reason I've done this as an example is because then of course it's very easy just to say show me M10 and filter that by M10 or M6. So I'm almost using this as like a search template to quickly go in and look for things by the description. You know, how you want to set up your searches, certainly in terms of the saved searches, there's all sorts of nice things you can do. I'm just trying to give you examples of things that would be useful on an ongoing basis. Okay, the next option that I've put in here is a greater than or less than option. So what I'm saying here is I want all released bolts where the retail price is less than 50 and the cost price is greater than 10. And we can see here I've got these two attributes switched on and it's running the query for me. However, that doesn't really make sense to me because surely it should only be showing me, and these are all 0, less than 50, greater than 10. So that's not correct. So I've obviously got my operators. The next one I've got here is project inquiries. So this one is just an example of, let's say we're managing projects inside DDM. We manage the full process from inquiry through to delivery and service. And I might be the person responsible for all inquiries and things that are being qualified that need to be pushed through the system. So I'm just searching across 2 different states against the project folders. Okay, so examples of the advanced Boolean based search. Have a play around. I'm sure you will drive it far better than I do. And if you find any problems with it, please do log them on the support database. Okay, I'm going to go back to my workshop. Searching, bring back my view details in the horizontal, advanced searching. Complete. Now, the next advanced search option is brand new, so I don't believe anybody has this yet. bar a couple of customers that have upgraded already. But we do now have a new public release of DDM. We haven't announced it yet because we're just finalising the videos and some of the paperwork. But the 2023.03, the March release of DDM is imminent. You will get notification from Sandra when we finally make that release and issue an email out to everybody. In that release is a brand new search capability, which is the advanced category DF search. So DF for dynamic filter. The way this works is I'm actually going to hop back first to the advanced search option. I'm going to clear the screen because I'd like to search across parts and assemblies. Now, we are currently in advanced search. If you look at the comment under the heading label there, if you choose the category attribute as your first selection, you will automatically be entered into the advanced category search mode. So what happens here is if I want to search by category, when I choose my category, and let's say we are going to pick on parts, purchase parts, electrical diodes. Okay, what happens is it's automatic. The system, I'm going to bring this to the side here. The system has automatically included all of the attributes that are linked to the category diode. Okay. I can also switch on all the columns that relate to that category so that we see them all in the display window. If I run a search, I'm seeing absolutely nothing. So clearly I've broken something again here. That doesn't make sense to me. What have I done? Let me use this example, fixings. Okay, so my example here is fixings. So I've chosen fixings and it will automatically include all of the attributes that relate to that category. And as you can see on my saved search, I've included yes on the preferred option here. Now, based on the fact that there are 668 results in my search, what I could start to do now is start to filter down by other attributes. So if I choose supplier, it is now only showing me suppliers in the drop down that are applicable to the items in the current search results. And therefore, if I pick B&Q, there are 34 of these parts that we get from B&Q. If I switch that back again now, it's brought all of them back. So I've got it set at the top here. There's some options at the top to automatically add the columns or automatically run the search when selecting attributes. And the reason we put these in as options is because if you've got a particularly big database, you might not want that switched on by default. Okay, and the ability to remember the settings, because I always want them switched on. So if I'm only looking things at a status of released, it's filtered down again. If I say I'm only looking for things manufactured by CSI, then it's filtered down to only 2 options. Okay, so it's a dynamic filtering mechanism where we can see here only that. Now what I'm going to do here is see this attribute standard, only one of the 2 has a standard against it. So if I go to standard here, it's only actually showing me one option. Whereas if I say take concurrent away and I look at standard, there are a number of standards in here. And therefore, if I choose standard here, I'm seeing all of the standards available. And it will filter down. So the idea behind this is that it's based on category using the advanced search mechanism. And when you choose your category, it will automatically add the applicable attributes, put in your search results, and then only give you options that are available against those search results, and therefore you should always get an answer at the end. I'm going to give you another example of that, which might be a slightly better example, and this one is, I'm looking for a shaft. Okay, again, I've defaulted it to yes as preferred. Now I've included two attributes here. Let me just size all these columns. I've got two attributes in here. He says confidently, parts, more, and it's item, diameter and length. Okay. We'll see here those columns. I'm going to move them over so you can see how that's working. And I'm going to put them after the status column. So it's finding me all shafts in the database. But now if I choose length, if I'm only interested in things that are 126 millimeters long, it's now narrowed that down to only 5 options. And on the basis of that, there's only one diameter. If I go by diameter, we've got 2 length options, which is 106 or 126, and therefore we get those 2 options inside here. So I'm hoping this example where we're showing diameter and length shows you how it's filtering the results that you have based on the category that you've selected. Okay, another way of accessing this tool, I'm going to clear from here, reset the screen so there's no search going on. I could go to my category browser, go to parts, manufactured, mechanical, shafts. There's a new edit option in here. If we go into edit mode, we have a new option as to whether this category should be included in the advanced search option, yes or no. And should it automatically include all of the child categories to show you the results below that as well. And we've also put in here that how many items are actually at that level. If you switch those on, you now have the ability, this advanced search option appears. So if I choose mounting assemblies, and I edit this, if I switch that off, we no longer have that advanced search option. So I want to be able to search across all shafts, and therefore, do I want to search across all items or only parts and assemblies? So these options are available. If I only want to search across parts and assemblies, there we go. So it's searching the entire database for anything that is a shaft. I can switch on, I only want to see preferred items, and I only want to see a status of release. So it's filtering automatically as I choose my options. Okay, so you can access it either by going to the advanced search and choosing category as your first option, or you can access it from the category browser, making sure that you've already edited to say that it should be included or not. Okay, so let's go back to our workshop. I'm going to switch my preview panel back on in the horizontal. And the actions that we have, advanced category dynamic filter search, brand new in DDM 2023.03. Now, favorites, standard favorites, you should already be aware of these. Within DDM, we have a selection of favorites like my action list, my folders, my group folders, recent files. All of these are what we consider to be our standard favorites. Okay, if I hop back, so standard favorites, we've covered this. Custom favorites. Now I've been showing you my pre-configured saved searches like this. So when you've created your search and you verified that it's correct, unlike some of mine, What you can then do is you can say favorites, add to favorites. When you add it to favorites, you can give a name to your saved search, and you can put it within a subfolder within your favorites. Okay, I'm not going to save a new one, but if I go to organize my favorites, let me just make this screen a little bit bigger. Here are all my saved searches. I've got all sorts in here, like quality procedures, open change orders, NCRs, etc. The ones that I prepared for today, these are my saved searches. If I select it, we can see who created the search. You'll also notice that these folder structure, all of my folders have got a green tick on them. And that means that this folder is visible to all users of DDM. So if you set up standard searches that everybody can benefit from, then you basically create a folder. So if I go back to here, CAD demos, if I was to add a new folder, it's automatically setting it as public because it's within a subfolder that's already public. Okay, I can delete that. If I go to my top level, and I want to, if I say my saved searches only, you'll notice that this one does not have a green tick on it. So this one is only visible to me. So the difference between all users can see these and only I can see these. And of course, any saved search that you put within a public folder is visible to everybody, but is subject to access control visibility, business unit visibility, etc. So they will only see things relative to what they have access controls for. If I've got this folder, to make it public is quite easy. We can just switch the button down here and make it public. Also, if something was created by a different user, you can reassign them to different people, different users. So you could say, well, I want to reassign this back to Joe so that he's the person managing that particular folder in terms of editing the name and the structure. So there's a few options within here. I'm sure you'll find your way. It's very similar to saving favorites in a web browser when you bookmark particular pages. Very similar, and you can build a structure. Okay. So search favorites. We've got standard and custom favorites. Let me just say complete. Favorites on menus. You'll see at the top of my screen here, I've got some extra buttons at the top of the screen. So I've created a new search, let's say change orders. I don't want to see all 379. I'm only interested in active open change orders because that's what we're working through. I've added it to my favorites. I've added it in my quality procedures and I've called it CHO for change orders. So that is now available in my favorites here, CHO. Okay. Then what I've done is I right click and I can click on customize. I can go to commands, favorites, and I can add my favorites to my button bar. So if I wanted to say sales orders to be chased by me, you know, if I'm looking at this on a regular basis, then I've just added it to my menu bar, so it's easy. So what I have across the top here is proposed development, active development, non-conformances, change orders, corrective action, supply chain folders, workshops, as you've seen many times, and sales to be chased by me. If I want to remove that, I open that dialog and I just drag it away and it removes it from my menu. It will save those settings if you do a full close and exit from DDM Office. If you just kill DDM or it crashes, it won't have saved that. So to keep that, you must do a proper shutdown. Okay. Searching. Favorites on menus. Like that. And the last thing on my my topics, there's one more I do want to show you that's not in my list, is the category browser, but we have had a specific workshop on the category browser So just quickly, for anybody who was not on the workshop, let me just do a collapse all. The idea behind the category browser is it's a way of finding information by what it is, not necessarily by the project folder it's related to or the user or anything like this. So I've got my logical structure set up. I'm either looking for a document or a part. If I'm looking for a part, is it purchased? I might be looking for bearings, roller bearings, and these are my standard roller bearings. Okay, so just a simple logical structure that enables you to find things by what they are. Think of it as a catalog index. So a really powerful search capability. And what's happening there is category is a single attribute against every item in the database. You see the attribute here, category. And anything in the database can only be in one category. So define your logic well would be the advice. Okay, so the only other thing that I do want to show you now is Tools DDM Web. I've opened it somewhere here that I think is behind a screen on the other window. So I'm just going to log into DDM Web because I pretty much have all of the same search capabilities within the web client. Right, I'm going to log into DDM Web. We got all the same kind of search capabilities. You can choose the area of the database that you're searching across. You can also, in the top right hand corner, you can go into the advanced search mode. In the top right hand corner, you can create your own searches, you can save them. We've got recent searches. You can also access all of your favorites in here. You can also browse the category browser, looking for a part, purchased, bearings, roller bearings. So I'm just running exactly the same search that I did in the DDM Office client. And of course, this being web-based, it could be a mobile phone, a tablet, or a full desktop machine. In the web client environment, we also have the ability to show these sort of summarized little data cards so that you can visually see things better as well. So that's the category browser. Favorites, again, I could go into my CAD demos, searching, advanced search, and I'm looking for preferred fixings. And again, I can access, so any saved search or favorites that I've got access to in the DDM Office environment, I should have access to them in the DDM web environment.